I'm going to now segue into the second one, and here's the segue I'm going to use. Apparently, Susie Bortles, the mom of Blake Bortles, very happy with the new rebuilt defense
Is she
in
better
Jacksonville.
or worse than Cheryl?
I have not looked at a picture, but it was when I was looking, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to pull up the stats for Blake Bortles to move into that next one. The SB Nation site, it's bigcatcountry.com. They have the headline, Jacksonville Jaguars Daily. Blake Bortles' mom, a big fan of the rebuilt defense. So we're going to move in now to Blake Bortles and kind of answer the question of, is this a make or break season for Blake Bortles? Because he's been in the league since 2014 was the year he was drafted. First quarterback taken off the board, another number 3 overall pick. And in his 2 years in the league, his first year as a rookie, he threw for 2,908 yards, had 17 INTs compared to 11 touchdowns. Last year, the interception numbers went up by 1. However, that touchdown margin went up to 35, and he had over 4,000 yards. Because of what we're seeing with Derek Carr, Derek Carr was drafted in that draft class. The Raiders are expected to do good things. Bridgewater was in that draft class, went to a playoff game last year. I mean, yeah, you're better than Johnny Manziel, who was the second quarterback taken in that draft. Mike, I'll start with you. Is this a make or break season for Blake Bortles?
Well, he's only been in the league, 2 years?
This will be his third.
This is his junior campaign.
Mm-hmm.
He's shown definite improvement now that he has a passing game. He's becoming solidified with what's Gus's last name?
Bradley.
Gus Bradley.
Yeah.
The problem is he hasn't had a consistent running game to help him out. Denard swapping between Toby Gerhart and Denard Robinson. Who was their
TJ Yeldon? They brought in
yeah,
TJ
that's who they
Yeldon
drafted
last year.
But he was getting injured left and right.
Yeah.
So they were consistent in the passing game because they had a consistent running game.
And they had Allen to Allen. They had Robinson and Hearns.
Exactly. So I wouldn't say it's a make or break year for Blake Bortles. So
I don't know. I agree with Mike in the sense of it's still young. You can't say it's make or break. But at the same time, we saw some good improvement out of him. I mean, getting above 4,000 yards, awesome. Thrilled.
He threw 24 more touchdown passes this year.
You love it. Unfortunately, interception number also went up. It
only went up by 1.
Yeah, but I don't want to see
the same.
Keep creeping. I don't want to. No, it didn't stay the same. It went up by 1.
Okay,
we haven't checked.
Is one interception really that important?
I'm just saying we don't want to see that trend continue.
But off the top of my head, we don't have any game
19,
film
20,
available.
21.
But are those interceptions by Bortles his fault? Missed coverage or missed routes by his wide receivers? So we really don't know whose fault.
And you assume that the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that's not that great, is probably down in a lot of games, probably needing to throw a lot.
They're going to be better. The way I see it is with Jacksonville this year, think of this year for Jacksonville a lot like last year for the Raiders, where Mike was coming in our 2015 AFC West preview and saying, sign the parade, you're getting the 5 wins. This year,
they got 5 last year.
It's going to be, that's what I'm saying. Blake Bortles for this year, that's going to be more on top of it. I got him as a 7-win, 8-win team.
Nice.
So 7-8 wins, middle of the pack. They're still behind the Colts and the Texans, but they're making that improvement forward into his then senior campaign next year.
I think the biggest issue for anyone in this division, but it's just full of quarterbacks right now. Andrew Luck's always going to be the best quarterback, most likely. Marcus Mariota looks like he's a very good quarterback. He looks like he can do things like Russell Wilson, like Cam Newton are doing. Then we also have the mystery, which is Brock Osweiler. Don't really know what we're seeing out of him. And like we said, Blake Bortles is getting better. But is he going to be able to leap up, or is he always just going to be like the second or third best quarterback in this division? That's a question that I think is more interesting because of the fact that, you want to be the Aaron Rodgers. You want to be the Tom Brady. You don't want to be the Matt Stafford, who's the second best quarterback in the division.
And for this, I'm going to quote Colin Cowherd on this because he said it on his show in the past. He said that a scout, when Bortles was coming out, spoke to him and told him that it's like, oh, what would Blake Bortles' comparison be? This scout that he wouldn't name who it was said that when you think about Blake Bortles, he's Aaron Rodgers not Aaron Rodgers. He's Andrew Luck with less talent. Mm-hmm. He's Andrew Luck without the talent.
I mean, the
Andrew
talent
Luck.
is the thing that makes Andrew Luck Andrew Luck. That's what I want. I want the talent. But here's the thing. Okay, they had a good passing attack last year. They did. He threw 35 touchdowns. We're happy with that.
The one thing I'll say about the interceptions really quick, led the league last year. That's the bad thing. It was one more than Peyton Manning, who had 17.
And Peyton Manning didn't play that many games, so we should throw that in there too. That is an asterisk. Peyton Manning probably would have thrown a shit more of interceptions if he played every game. So, but the thing to think about with the Jaguars is really they were one of the worst teams when it came to stopping teams from scoring on them. That is going to force Blake Bortles to throw the ball more often. So he's going to more likely throw interceptions. But it will also inflate his yardage. He will have more yards because of the fact that his team's throwing the ball constantly.
That's how Stafford was throwing for 5,000 yards the last couple seasons.
They're always down. Yeah, exactly. That's the issue here is that. They also have one of the worst running games. If they have a better running game, which we're hoping they will this year, all these things are going to affect Blake Bortles to where I don't necessarily know if this is the make or break season for Blake Bortles. I think it might be Blake Bortles kind of coming into the situation of what he is.
Is it his coming out party then?
In the sense of like he's going to become a pretty efficient
When's
game
his rookie
manager,
contract?
maybe.
Is that after next year?
I believe so. I believe it's after next year. But is this his coming out party where it's like, boom, Blake Bortles? Because I'm looking at, and this is an article I brought up to you guys before we hit the record button today, was Mike Sando, ESPN senior writer, came out with an article where he broke the quarterbacks up into 5 tiers. Tier 1 can carry his team each week. Team wins because of him. Tier 2 can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. And then Tier 3, that's where I'm going to stop because that's where Blake Bortles is. Legit starter, but needs heavy run game and defense to win. Maybe that's why Susie Bortles is like, hey, man, I like what's going on with this defense, this new rebuilt defense, because maybe she knows her son can't do it all on his own.
Well, I view Susie Bortles. She's no Cheryl.
No,
I looked it up.
She's not an airhead.
No.
No, you're talking looks.
I'm talking looks right now.
Okay.
But she's like that super supportive team mom in Little League baseball or football. She gets
you could do it, Blakey.
She's the one. She cheers on everyone. She's Blake Bortles might have the dad that's crazy that walks off on his own, or she just leaves the dad and goes to another part of the park. But she's there for the team 100%.
The thing to remember for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jalen Ramsey coming in, Miles Jack coming in. You look at the roster with guys like Julius Thomas.
Julius, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I knew that sounded weird when I said it.
Only 455 yards.
Yeah, did not perform anywhere near as well as he should have. The running back situation has to be better, but Hearns and Robinson, we're happy about that. We're thrilled that those two, are there and they need to continue to develop a little bit. But this team, it really has pretty much everything that they need now. It's less of is Blake Bortles going to have his coming out party? It's more of, is the Jacksonville Jaguars a real team? And if things are not finally turning around, if they can't get to an 8-8 season this year, we have to ask some serious questions, because this roster is filled with talent. It really is. Blake Bortles does not have to be a great quarterback. He doesn't have to be Andrew Luck. He has to just be able to fit in to let the defense be better this year, to let the run game be better, and then continue doing what he was doing last year, game manage, throw less interceptions, but all that should happen because they're not going to be down as often. They're going to have a better running game. So I don't honestly think Blake Bortles needs to do much. He just needs to kind of keep on keeping on, really keep doing what you're doing.
And just because I looked it up, Mike, you asked about Bortles' contract. The way it's structured is he's entering the 3rd year of a 5-year deal.
Okay.
Next year could be his contract year. However, I'm just calling it a 5-year deal because that 5th year is a club option.
Yeah, they're
I'm
going to probably
assuming
take it.
Jacksonville's going to pick it up. So he's not a free agent until after the 2018 season. So he's got next season, the year after, then he's an unrestricted free agent to sign wherever he wants. But I feel like Blake Bortles, is this a make or break season? I don't know if I legitly gave an answer. No, it's not. I think the only reason why we're going to start thinking this way is because what's going on across the pond and across the country for him with a quarterback that was drafted almost a full 32 picks after him and Derek Carr. If the Raiders make the playoffs and Jacksonville doesn't, then I think a lot of people, is it going to be justified? Maybe not, but a lot of them are going to go, wait a second. Why is this guy who was drafted that year making the playoffs, but we're not?
Because Al Davis is dead.
Because Al Davis is dead and they're no longer drafting the fastest guy on the field.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's pretty significant there. It depends on what Derek Carr does. But I think they're looking at teams like the Minnesota Vikings, a team that drafted a quarterback that same time and said, hey, this is a complete team. That's what we're trying to achieve in Jacksonville.
And I will say, Teddy Bridgewater and Blake Bortles are the same in that sense. Whenever people tell me, oh, well, what you like Teddy Bridgewater? He can lead your team? Yeah, I'm confident in Bridgewater because we've got AP behind him.
He can lead this team.
Yeah, we're getting the weapons around him. We've got the solid defense. That's Teddy Bridgewater. If he has a team around him, he can lead them to the Super Bowl. He's not going to be the Tom. Like, I'm not looking for the Tom Brady who's going to will his way to a Super Bowl and win that Super Bowl. Blake Bortles is the same way. Give him a team that's around him. Even Derek Carr. You got to look at that team that's around Derek Carr. The kind of building that the Raiders have done with Latavius Murray was a good option for them in the backfield last year. They bring in Amari Cooper, who I hear Carr and Cooper are actually rooming together in training camp to try to build that chemistry. And then on the defensive side, when they go out and draft Khalil Mack to kind of build that defense moving forward, it's some of these quarterbacks, not all of them are going to be Tom Brady. Not all of them are going to be Aaron Rodgers or even a Big Ben I'll throw out there. Most of them are going to be, hey, let's get him in the door. Let's build a team around him. And that's what you got to think of if you're a Jaguar fan.
Yeah, it's definitely less the question of, is this Blake Bortles, make or break season? Is this the Jacksonville Jaguars team make or break season? They can't continue to be under 500, not with this talent.
I'll ask you this question to kind of round it up a little bit. If Jacksonville does not make the playoffs, do we start saying, let's get rid of Gus Bradley and get a new guy in there?
Not necessarily if they miss the playoffs. If they're under 500, I think, yeah, because it's more of the same.
So if they're under 8 wins?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they don't have to make the playoffs, they just have to get above 500 for me.
The good thing about the Jacksonville Jaguars, you never hear any bad press during the season about altercations, at least from my recollection. So why destroy that? Granted, if you're underperforming, which you're probably expecting to, unless you live in the city of Jacksonville.
Duval County.
But anyway, why would you try destroy that chemistry that you're trying to build up in the culture of a team by, let's get rid of the fucking coach?
True. You've been building something for this long. I think even if you're under 8 wins, I think it's as long as you're better than last season. If you're under 5 wins, okay, let's have a discussion.
You take 6 wins?
Maybe. Well, depends on what kind of a 6 wins am I looking at. Am I looking at all of our losses were blowouts? Were there some games where it was like, we lost on this one play? Did we lose on this other quarterback willed his team to the victory? It really depends on how we lose those other 10 games in that situation. But really, to me, the target 8 wins is the absolute, yes, that's a fucking Super Bowl-like season for us.
Parade.
7 wins is still good. 6 wins, I'm not extremely happy, but I'll at least take it.
I just think there's too much talent on this team. And they've unfortunately had a lot of first-round picks get hurt or Justin Blackmon. So that's an issue. But they have so much building up. You just can't keep not having success. If you continue to not have success, it's a coaching problem at that point.
Going back to the running backs, I looked up the roster. They picked up this year Jonas Gray and Chris Ivory to help solidify that backfield too, in case Yeldon goes down.
Well, and I mean, Yeldon only had, just over 700 yards last season?
Yeah.
And I mean, Chris Ivory had a pretty good year last year for the Jets. I think they'll lean on... Ivory would be the guy I would lean on if I was the Jets. But like you said, even Jonas Gray. Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Gray was with Miami last year, right?
Yes. He went from New England to Miami.
Yeah, it was 2 years. Because I'm thinking, I remember him in that blue. And then I'm like, wait, I think he was in Miami. But you guys let us know down below what you guys think. Blake Bortles, is this a make or break season for him?